Chair recognizes Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman Mike McCall, for your leadership, and Ranking Member Greg Meeks for this bipartisan hearing on something so important as we understand the significance of the challenge of the Chinese Communist Party, also the relationship actually to the war in Ukraine. And in fact, my appreciation of the people of China, my father served in the Flying Tigers in World War II. And so it was really, I grew up with such an appreciation of the Chinese people. He served in Kunming, Chengdu, Xi'an. And growing up, I just grew up with such his affection for the people of China. And so we want the best for the people of China, but that obviously means we also want a free and independent Taiwan. And so, and I appreciate the recognition a few minutes ago about Lithuania, how they've been taking a lead on providing to stop Chinese Communist Party influence in Europe. And I was just last week in Prague in the Czech Republic. They too are working hard to promote the independence of the people of Taiwan, opposing the Chinese Communist Party influence. With that in mind, I want to thank all of you for being here today, but I believe the world's in a global competition between democracies with rule of law, opposed by authoritarians with rule of gun. Today, the conflict is war criminal Putin's mass murder in Ukraine. Ukraine must be victorious to deter the Chinese Communist Party from attacking the 24 million people of Taiwan, and Ukraine must be victorious to stop Iran from its efforts to vaporize Israel as it develops intercontinental ballistic missiles to devastate American families. With that in mind, I would like to ask Secretary Crittenbank, the Chinese spy balloon endangered the security of American families from Guam to my home community of South Carolina. And yet the President said he advised not to shoot down the balloon on January 28th when it was still over the Alaskan Aleutian Islands and not until over the U.S. mainland. What was the reason for such a delay?
Congressman, thank you. On the balloon, I've been honored to brief the House before on this issue together with a number of colleagues, and I'll restate here. We tracked, we detected, we surveilled, and then we took down the Chinese high-altitude balloon when it was safe to do so. The President made a decision on the advice and in consultation with our military commanders that we took the steps to protect ourselves, to mitigate against any threat posed by that balloon, and then made the decision again to take down that balloon once it was safe to do so. It's a massive structure, 200 feet tall. The payload underneath it is the length of 3 buses. So the concern was in the modeling that was done, if you take that down over land, the debris field could be quite significant, could pose a real harm to Americans on the ground, and that's why the President made the decision to take it down when he did. But we, I can say, Congressman, we also learned a great deal by surveilling that balloon while it flew in our airspace, and we are learning more as we have collected the payload since we took it down.
To me, it's very disappointing. It was a threat to my constituents. I represent Fort Jackson. I represent Savannah River Nuclear Laboratory. To have a spy balloon come over our state is just, it's inconceivable. And indeed, Governor Greg Gianforte, Senator Steve Daines, Congressman Ryan Zinke have all said that they would have welcomed to have the balloon shot down over Montana as being only a threat to prairie dogs. And so I just find that inconceivable. And I want to ask you if you could provide, and I've asked and not been given the information, what was the exact trajectory over South Carolina and North Carolina? I would like to know what counties the balloon traveled over, and for some reason that has been called classified, which it's on opensecrets.com, but this needs to be revealed to American people and what a threat this was. And I sincerely disagree with you that the thought of shooting it down off of Surfside Beach, South Carolina, into the ocean, it should have been recovered in some way so that we could find out what type of threat there is from the Chinese Communist Party. And with that, I yield back.
Congressman, thank you. Again, I do want to underscore, as I did in my opening statement, that China's introduction of this high-altitude surveillance balloon into U.S. sovereign territorial airspace was irresponsible and unacceptable, full stop. But as I indicated, we tracked it from the beginning. We made an assessment of how to mitigate the risk, and the determination of the President and our military commanders was that it was not safe to take it down until it was off the waters of South Carolina. When we did, and in the water, we were able to recover the payload, and I'm confident we'll learn more from that.
Chair recognizes Mr. Barra.